Good morning, friends. Welcome back to Astrology Today and Tarot. My name is Mel Rose. This is the Tarot portion in the second half of my daily astrology vlog, which you can check out on my other channel, Astrology Today with Mel Rose. Over there, you'll find a description of the day's astrology as I have spelled it out here. Here, I will discuss the tarot card that sits on the side of the page, and then I'll play another card that, in the context of the day's astrology, may give us something more to think about. So, let's get into it. The card that currently sits on the side of the page is the Six of Swords, and it is here because it represents, in astrology, the second 10 days or the second decan of the sun's transit here in the land of Aquarius. Aquarius is an air sign. Swords in tarot represent air element symbolism, and air element symbolism has to do with the intellect, our logical, rational brain. What and how we think, what kind of plans we make, and how we communicate or share with others. And so we come to the Six of Swords and we see a moment of retreat. We see somebody sort of moving to get away, right? And there's sort of a protected posture here. This person's got a hood over their head. You kind of can't see the person that's with them. It looks like maybe a smaller kid. And you can't even see the face of the oarsman who's pushing the boat, right? So we're really definitely not showing our faces and we're moving on. So this is a card about being in transition. It's about leaving something behind and moving on to sort of greener pastures, if you will. So, you know, we've initiated a journey here, and it's important to realize that this is probably because of some conflict that we've been in, or that we found ourselves in a situation where we weren't feeling like we were expressed, or we didn't feel like our contributions were being acknowledged. It could have felt harmful, it could have felt toxic, or it could have just really felt like I'm not being respected or seen here, and so it's not really working for me. And that we initiate this journey. It can be a physical journey, or it can be a journey of the heart or the mind, where we just want to create some distance between ourselves and that situation. And that distance that we create is necessary for our own sense of progress. Okay, so we're leaving this sort of painful, unexpressed, dissatisfying situation behind. We're going to a more distant place, physically or in our heart and mind, that promises more potential, and that will give us a chance, you know, to also sort of gain the emotional calm that it takes to sort of reassess our situation. How did we get in that situation in the first place? How do we avoid getting into that situation in the future when we want to collaborate with other people? And you know, having that space to reassess and to think about where we've been and where we're going, you know, hopefully we can, you know, take what we learn about ourselves and other people there and, you know, just move on to better experiences in the future. So with that said, I'm going to throw this card down. We got the Eight of Swords again. Okay, so this is a card about self-sabotage. It's very much a vibration where, you know, perhaps we thought something was ideal. And, you know, maybe we did this like we were fleeing perhaps from a situation that didn't feel good to us, that didn't work for us, right? And so, you know, in our flight, we think, okay, I know what would be perfect. I know what would be so much better than this. And I'm just going to use all my thoughts, plans, and communications to get myself in this other situation, right? And then we get ourselves into this other situation and we find ourselves feeling even more trapped, even more stuck, and perhaps like, you know, oh gosh, now I'm completely unexpressed. Now nobody knows what I think or how I feel. And can you believe I talked myself into this? Right? So, you know, we get into this situation and sometimes it feels a little bit like we're trapped. It feels like you know, we've got our hands tied. It feels like we can't see a way forward. And part of that is going to be because, you know, perhaps we were not so honest with ourselves about what we needed or desired from a situation. And so, you know, we thought we were telling the truth. We thought we knew what we needed. We asked for it. We got ourselves into that situation. And now to get ourselves out of the situation, we're going to have to use the same tools: thoughts, plans, and communications. And that's going to mean being honest with people about something that we thought, about something that, you know, we thought we were truthful with ourselves and others before, but now we realize that that wasn't that wasn't the truth for us. So like bringing a fresh honesty to a situation where people are going to think that you were being dishonest, and that's always a difficult conversation to have. It's also going to take sort of waking up and being honest with yourself about the situation you've talked yourself into, taking responsibility for that. And it's also going to be about changing, having to wake up in your thoughts, in the way you think about yourself and the way you think about your situation. Okay. It's gonna take a sort of shift in attitude, like, what we thought was ideal before, we're going to have to realize from within that it is not ideal, and to come to a conclusion like, I deserve better than this, I have to do better than this, I have to get myself out of this situation. Okay, so that's how Eight of Swords is sort of the self-sabotage, and self-sabotage is a tough situation to get out of, because if we haven't been true to ourselves, then we haven't been honest with the people around us, and it takes a lot more personal exposure to get out of a situation like this than it takes to get out of a situation like this. If we were in a situation where we were contributing, we were being honest in our contribution, we were being forthright, and we still got disrespected, or we found that we didn't fit in, or we found that we just weren't getting what we needed from the situation, then we can just sort of like not even have to tell anybody how we felt about it or what we think about it. We can just move on, right? We just sort of cover up our head and drive away, right? And then that's about having to eventually reassess, where we've been and how we've been. But if we don't go through that assessment, we might find ourselves in a situation where, we thought that the way somebody else was living looked ideal. We thought, that a road that other people often travel looks like a road that we can travel. And then we get down this road and we're just like, I wasn't right about that either, right? So it takes a little more self-exposure. It takes a little more self-assessment to get out of the Eight of Swords situation. Where do we see the Eight of Swords on the page right now? Well, here's a way that we can do self-sabotage. Today we culminate this aspect between Venus and Mars. It's a square. Now, Venus and Mars are the traditional binary couple partnership, right? One is receptive, one is assertive. One is more about the relationship, and one is more about the, just how we get our needs and desires met, how we sort of conquer things, or how we sort of achieve things, right? And these two can work really well together. That's how they become sort of the model for a binary style relationship, which a lot of people are engaged in. But this is it's great in that there can come a lot of creative and sexual tension with this. Okay, and from tension we get a sort of compelled to take action, right? But the warning that comes up here is that we can be a little more sort of driven to satisfy our own urges, our own needs and desires, and we might forget the partnership, we might forget the commitment we're in, we might forget what we have committed ourselves to. So Venus is about our friendships, our romance, and our finance, right? So this is about, the potential of being selfish in relationships, thinking if I just go after what it is that I want, then everything will be fine, right? And not necessarily thinking about the other person that's in the relationship. And then also there's the finance aspect of that, where, we can do selfish things. We can talk ourselves into making purchases or making financial commitments that sort of leave us sort of leave us tied up in the long run, and then we have to figure out our way to get out of that situation, right? We think, oh, I can just buy this ideal circumstance for myself, right? I can just rent this apartment that's way too much for me, or I can just purchase this vehicle or this computer or whatever this thing of value is that I think will help me realize my goals so much more easily, and then we find ourselves sort of underwater trying to pay for those things, right? So In either case, it's easy under this influence to sabotage yourself by thinking primarily about yourself and not by thinking about what you're committed to or who you are committed to, and not by taking the input from those commitments from those relationships, from even just what I said I would do. If what you feel the impulse to do at this time is different from what you said you would do, it's probably a good time to turn to a friend or a loved one and let them know what's on your mind, what you're thinking, and let them help you remember what it is that you're actually trying to do in the world, right? Because the other thing about the Eight of Swords is that we kind of get there on our own, right? We can walk away from one situation, we can think, I don't need anybody, I don't need any input from anyone else, right? I can just do my own thing and I'll figure this out on my own. And then we find ourselves in this situation like, well, I mean, I figured out how to get here, but it's not really working for me, right? So that's the Eight of Swords on the page today. Let's put it together with the Six of Swords. And we've talked about this already. I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and pull another card as well. Ooh, the Ace of Wands. Take initiative. Get moving. Okay, so it's okay to show initiative, even though we run the risk of sort of ignoring the input of our friends and loved ones, even though we run the risk of sort of ignoring the commitments we've made, even to our sort of fiscal, financial, personal well-being. It's not about staying stuck in a situation because we run the risk of disrupting our relationships if we move away from them, right? Or if we act independently. It's about acting independently, in the context of knowing what isn't working for you and having the inspiration to do what is working for you. And when you get that inspiration, even if you're in a relationship, and even if you think this, this independent action might cause this person to think that I'm not thinking about them, and really what I'm trying to do is improve my own situation, right? It just takes having a conversation. It takes, understanding what you can do to better your situation, but also understanding and appreciating what somebody else can do to help you take that initiative, to help you, sort of get on the move to that other side, to that other way of being, so that you can feel as though you are free to act, even in the context of your commitments, right? Ideally, when we have made commitments, either to friendships, to lovers, or even just to ourselves and our own well-being, that doesn't mean that we feel constrained. It doesn't mean that we feel that we have to, ignore the input of other people to move forward. And it shouldn't mean that we feel like we are not free to grow and change as human beings. It just takes having a conversation. It just takes, letting people in on how you are feeling and what you think will work for you to move forward, right? So it can be a little bit of a difficult time if we're talking about our relationships, to our friends, to our lovers. It can be a little bit of a difficult time if we find that we've made financial commitments that, are not going to be so easy to get out of. We're going to have to work for it, right? But when inspiration strikes, when you know what it is that needs to happen for you to get yourself out of this stuck place, right, then it's time to take the baton and run with it. Just have the conversation, okay? Appreciate that, when you're taking the baton and running with it, you're taking it from somebody else, all right? So it's a cooperative event. A relay race is a cooperative event, all right? Getting inspiration is not something that you necessarily always do on your own. We take inspiration from the thoughts, words, and actions, the drives, the passions of other people, right? And it's okay to adopt the drives and passions of other people and to run with them in a way that is more fulfilling for ourselves. We just want to remember to include the people and the things that we are committed to when we are following that new inspiration. Yeah. I think that's all I have to say about it today, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. I truly appreciate your presence here. My name is Mel Rose, and I'll see you all back here tomorrow for more Astrology Today and Tarot.